Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure and a privilege to have this chance to share some thoughts. Initially, Stephen said just sit on the panel and just share something. I ended up producing some slides, and I'm glad I did, seeing the quality and the level of the contributions today. So it's really good to be here. I don't normally include it in my bio when I'm speaking in scholarly and academic settings, but maybe it's relevant today. Before starting my Islamic studies, I was trained as an optometrist, and I'm still practicing as an optometrist, so trained as a clinical scientist, if you like. But in my Islamic studies, which began on a serious level at the Al-Mahdi Institute, we didn't, speaking from many people have spoken about their biographies, so I just wanted to add this in briefly, being aware that I'm going to be held to time. At least my cohort didn't feel the same angst, all right, which has been mentioned on a number of occasions today here in terms of this narrative, British Muslim narrative. I think there's a few reasons, at least from this personal biographical account. One, of course, I was trained in science, raised in a house, where science was privileged, and this was never seen in tension, with religion and our understanding of Islam. And then even going through our relatively traditional curriculum, of Hawzawi studies, we don't have the same, and what was described as the ma'kulat earlier on, within the Shi'i tradition, and the ma'kulat, the intellectual sciences, are still very much integral to the training of traditional ulama. Of course, in the modern period, they have also been reshaped and reformed, there is no doubt, and there's been an impact of the modernization of education in Iran and Iraq. But these ideas of hikmah, which have been one of our contributors not here, has been emphasizing all day, has been very much integral to the training of Shia ulama, where reason, and emphasis on philosophy, theology, rational approaches to jurisprudence are very, very important. I took that through in my PhD. My PhD was about the role of reason and ethics in the interpretation of Sharia. And as a result, I've sometimes been pulled into discussions, although my study was about theoretical questions about the relationship between Sharia and ethics and human understanding. I've then been pulled into areas of applied ethical questions, and Arzu, who's here, very kindly invited me some years ago to speak at her Center for Islam and Medicine on bioethics. And on various occasions through my work, I'm pulled into thinking about applied ethical issues at the intersection between what's been framed here as Islam and science. And I want to talk about a case, a very, very important, I think is a very, very important case, which we need to bring on to our, it's been mentioned today in passing actually, but it needs to be more centered within our deliberations on these areas. This panel was titled Islam, Science and the Big Questions. So much of the debate, as we've seen, and discussion, and not all of it, is concerned with human origins when we think about big questions relating to Islam and science. And whether these are applied questions, genome coding, as raised, ensoulment of a fetus, related to abortions and so on and so forth, or new forms of human production, or the more theoretical questions about the birth of the human species itself, those debates about evolution. But I think the big questions now really are shifting, with the emergence of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is not something for the future. It's already pervasive. And this is bringing big questions, not just for people of faith, but for people of non-faith as well. And the resources of Islamic thought, of course, have much to offer. And there's a push, we heard this from, again, I'm saying Arzu again, I think there's a few times I might reference you here, because you said lots of things which get a useful platform for me, or they give me a chance to echo some of the contributions you made early on. There's lots of push from ethicists, to globalize or to decolonize the conversations in AI as they are in biomedicine. And actually, that's one of the reasons I became interested as a peripheral issue on AI, is they couldn't find anybody who could speak about Islamic ethics and to join the conversation. They found some video of me speaking about, meta ethics. And so, okay, he must be able to speak about Islamic ethics and artificial intelligence. Of course, with this type of environment where people are looking for Muslims to engage, there's a risk of apologetic engagements from Muslims. All right. But I think these big questions, and because of time, I think we're already seeing apologetic engagements from Muslims in the space of AI ethics, right? All right. But let me see if I can get rid of that. Yep. Okay. So, but these big questions, I think we have to be very careful and recognize on an engagement with these applied ethical issues that these can do a huge amount for Islamic thought. Engaging in these questions can do, it's not just about Islam contributing to the questions. I think we need to be open to recognizing our engagement with these questions can do something for Islamic thought and Muslim religious leaders themselves. It's a prompt for theology. It can be, should be, must be a prompt for theological, philosophical, jurisprudential deliberation. And also very, very necessary for those who are seeking to fulfill their pastoral responsibilities, whether that's within one's home, one's community, in their mosques, in their settings, wherever. Yeah, both today and tomorrow. So artificial intelligence, very, very briefly, what is it? Okay. Yeah, we're not talking about, I'm not envisaging here, Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay, in Terminator. All right, very simply using a European Commission definition is pretty old now. In this space, 2018 is old, okay? But it's a system that displays intelligent behavior by analyzing their environment and taking actions with some degree of autonomy to achieve specific goals, right? So it could be software-based, voice assistants, Siri, okay? Image analysis software, search engines, speech and face recognition systems, ChatGPT, okay? These are software-based forms of artificial intelligence. A few weeks ago, we had Hadith GPT, all right, before it was pulled down quickly, all right? Yeah, hardware devices, advanced robots, autonomous cars. Okay, we don't see them in the UK, but they are being used, okay? Yeah, drones, these are being used in warfare today, okay? Why does it matter? Why do these things matter? The social impact of this stuff is already and will increasingly be dramatic, right? Whether that's the impact on labor markets and the distribution of wealth, of course, positioned first and foremost towards efficiency, but also having massive impacts on inequality. Okay, healthcare is a good example, right? So I'm careful not to elaborate too much here, but so for example, in the States, artificial intelligence is being used to detect whether pigmented lesions, okay, are likely to be cancerous or not, right? But because the data which is fed into the AI, is predominantly using Caucasian skin, all right, okay, you're getting increased efficiency in treating the cancer, okay, for Caucasian skins, but less efficiency for treating Black and Asian minority communities. All right, so you get increasing in efficiency, but also increasing inequalities. There are massive psychological impacts, dependency, deception, arising out of human and robot relations, which we're already living with. Okay, financial system impacts, risks of manipulation and collusion, legal system is being impacted, questions of liability, who's liable? Okay, when the autonomous car decides to preserve the life of its driver and runs over two pedestrians, okay? Who's liable for those decisions which are employed in medical choices? And trust, okay? Again, I also mentioned trust, the impact on trust. Okay, these are questions which are being raised outside of faith communities and recognized despite the obvious potential in using these technologies for human development, there are serious challenges. So Islamic ethics, of course, has which I conceive of as a diversity of traditions of revelation, at least for the purposes of this presentation. Okay, a variety of traditions engaged with revelation, central, of course, to the Quran. Has lots to offer these questions and conversations. Whether we start with Islam's theology and metaphysics, God is one on a very basic level. Okay, the source of, I'm emphasizing here, all existence and all life, existence as purpose, is accountable to Him, is returning to Him. So the theology of Islam, I hope just from my emphasis here, has something to offer. Even this framing of artificial intelligence. Okay? Yes, certain theological schools, of course, emphasize that God is the direct creator of everything. All right? How is that playing out with our engagement with those things which are described as artificially intelligent? Virtue ethics, the variety of traditions in Islamic normative thought, whether that's based on the ethical paradigms of the Prophet, the Imams and his companions, ascetic practices, the rational philosophical ethics of the virtue traditions, or the supra-rational Sufi ethics towards manifesting godly character. And the Sharia traditions, okay, usul al-fiqh as a rational discipline, okay, of moral theology and hermeneutics, or fiqh as the discipline of jurisprudence that seeks action-orienting rules and regulations for all circumstances of life. This is a rich, diverse traditions which can help inform Muslims' engagement, okay, with these pressing big questions. Of course, it is the Sharia and the jurisprudential traditions which dominate modern Muslim normative thinking. Already this morning we've seen it, okay? In references that when we come for a solution, we go to the Mufti, for example, all right? The theologian, the call for hikmah is having to be explained. Why do we need metaphysics and why do we need theology, right? But fiqh and AI, all right, yes, has lots of potential. 2 minutes, gosh. All right, okay, so fiqh and AI, potential and challenges. All right, so fiqh, I resonate with lots of the comments today. Look, even its atomistic, duty-based approach can elicit very influential and concrete responses to specific concrete questions, which AI ethicists are looking for, right? Can I use a self-driving car, a love robot, an algorithm, so on and so forth, right? The jurisprudential discussions of how to weigh up conflicting evidences, okay, harms and benefits. There are sophisticated ways which jurists have developed, okay, to think about such questions. Reconciliation of evidences and competing values, how to address harm, necessity, so on and so forth. There's lots of sophisticated things which can be added from within fiqh's current discourse. And of course, fiqh's deontological approach to ethics in Islam history has typically been seen as complementary to a virtue ethics, right? Which is something which wider ethical discourse is struggling with, okay? Where there's often a separation between deontological ethics and virtue ethics. Islam has something to add here, all right? I'm going to skip this stuff. But of course, fiqh is prone to instrumentalization and authoritarianism, all right? Yeah, we can consider the examples from Islamic finance. All right, I'm going to skip it. Yeah, thankfully I don't have to say the word in brackets, it's not mine. Okay, which sometimes people have described Islamic finance, as capitalism's illegitimate child. All right? Yes, we see it in the instrumentalization of fiqh in some aspects of contemporary Islamic medical ethics. All right? Yeah, we're simply adopting Eurocentric frameworks. Yeah, with fatwa issued in a moral vacuum, driven by state logic, capitalism, and identity politics. Flips to maqasid discourses, privileging an objectives-based approach to the Sharia, are still underdeveloped and often lacking theoretical consistency. So, last slide. I'm sorry, Riaz, yeah? Islamic ethics and the big questions of AI. Sharia discourse has much to offer. Okay? Yeah, and both for my work is in usul al-fiqh. Right? Typically, I try to engage with theological, ethical issues through the lens of usul al-fiqh. Sharia discourse has much to offer both for Muslims and the wider debates about the rules for ethical regulation of AI. If it's taken as a hermeneutical, philosophical, theological, and ethical discourse. But rules don't seem to be enough to solve the big questions of the day at the intersection of Islam and science. Okay, questions about trust, privacy, progress, consciousness, and life itself. All right? Islam has no fundamental problem, in my understanding, with technological development. But is the development which technology is being used for today consistent with the theological and ethical commitments of Islam, where all creation belongs to God and returns to Him, and felicity of the human is through understanding, service, and stewardship? Is the development in AI making our lives more or less human? Considering human life against transhuman life hopefully can take us to think beyond the question of human origins and give us a new lens to reconsider as Muslims, what does it and what should it mean to be alive? Thank you.